So I am going to turn it over to your next moderator, and that is Meghan Abella-Bowen, and she is going to lead a wonderful panel of recent apprentices, and something that I'm sure you guys, all of the audience will get a lot out of, is talking to those apprentices. So Meghan, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I've got the luxury of bringing on the actual apprentices, and you're going to get to hear from them. So I'm going to cut to just give a quick, brief overview of our apprentices. Then they're each going to take about 5 minutes to tell you a little bit about their experience, and then we'll jump into some questions. So as I see them on my table today, I'm just going to introduce you. Our 4 apprentices. Our first will be Chad Robinson. Chad is a 2019 graduate of the Siemens Energy Apprenticeship Program in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he works as a training specialist and provides assistance with the day-to-day management of the apprenticeships program at Siemens Energy. So he'll be one of our speakers. Our next speaker that I see is Rhonda Williams. Rhonda has been in her career with Ford Motors for over 30 years, working on the assembly line at the Ohio Assembly Plant. And during her 25th year, she took an opportunity to apply for and was selected for the Ford UAW Joint Apprenticeship Program. And she just completed the program in October and received her Industrial Engineering certificate and Journeyman card. Our next speaker will then be Oscar Oak Aquino. Oak is an artist, poet, and fashion model, stylist, magician, and graphic illustrator, recording artist, and creative director who lives in Boston, Massachusetts. And he is a recent graduate of the Loop Lab Apprenticeship Program. He'll tell you more about that when he speaks. And our final speaker is going to be Travis Barrett. And Travis is a graduate of the Full Stack Java Engineering Registered Apprenticeship Program sponsored by Apprentice and JPMorgan Chase. And he enlisted in the Marine Corps infantry following the events of September 11th in 2001, and basically took his skills and experiences from that, came back in and participated in the program at JPMorgan Chase, and is now a software engineer with JPMorgan Chase. So with that, just to give you a clue of who you're going to be hearing from, I'll start it off by asking each of them to talk a little bit about their experience, so you can understand what it's like from the apprenticeship side or the apprentice side of the house. And then we'll have some very specific questions for them and also encourage the audience to ask. So Chad, I'm going to start off with you and just ask you to tell us a little bit about your background and what your apprenticeship looked like.
Yeah, awesome. Well, first off, thank you guys for allowing us to be here today. We're really excited to kind of be able to share all of our stories with you. So like Meghan said, my name is Chad Robinson. I work for Siemens Energy. I graduated the apprenticeship program in 2019. It's a 4-year program that we have at Siemens. Currently, I'm working as a training specialist. So I teach classes like for our new employees and current employees, like blueprint reading, human performance, 5Y, metrics metrology, and then help with the day-to-day operation of our apprenticeship program too. So before participating in the apprenticeship program, I was actually a high school senior. I was all set up to go to a foreign university, already made my first deposit, and I had no idea what an apprenticeship program was. But I spoke to my career development counselor, who I had a really good relationship with. He's actually the reason why I got my first job in high school. So we had a really good rapport, and he brought me in for a quick meeting and told me about this apprenticeship program at Siemens. And I didn't really know what to think of it, but I really respected his opinion, and he thought I'd be a good option for it. And so I told him, like, yeah, I'll give it a look. I'll check it out. But I was still a little weary about it. So, but as I learned more about the apprenticeship program, I saw like all the benefits that it had for me. And so I spoke to some of my friends in college and some of my recently graduated friends. And I told them about the program, how basically I'd be starting off working at Siemens. I'd work 3 days a week, and 2 days a week I'd go to school. I'd earn my degree. I'd graduate completely debt-free with 4 years of work experience and a guaranteed job. And all their jaws just kind of dropped. Like, oh my gosh, what? That's insane. Why have I never heard of this program? And so they all felt like I could go either route and be successful, but they felt like the apprenticeship program would be a really good way for me. And that's one thing I kind of learned, is that there are different routes to be successful. Because I feel like growing up, I was always told I have to go to foreign university right after high school, or else I'm not going to be successful. And that's kind of what I had in my mind. But I know there's so many different routes. I mean, you could go the military route, you could go to 4 university, be successful. You could do a 2-year at a community college, then later 4-year, just student associates. You you do an apprenticeship program. There's just so many ways you can be successful. So it's good. It's best not to just think that there's only one route to success. And then for the apprenticeship program at Siemens, we are a state program and we're registered with Apprenticeship NC. So I don't know if Catherine's still on the line, but shout out to her. So we work with her a lot. And so our program's 8,000 hours in total. So it's a 4-year program. So that's 6,400 on the job training and then 1,600 related instruction. The selection process is pretty long at Siemens. So it actually all starts off with an open house where we have different partnership companies. And so that's really nice because we all recruit together. So it's kind of like, it takes a village kind of approach. And with that, we're also all different size companies and do different things. So like with Siemens, we're rather large. We have 1,300 employees just in Charlotte. Then some of our other companies have like, one has 200 employees, the other one has 30. And so it's kind of a nice, diverse population for the students to choose from, like they like more family style, or if they want to go kind of more larger approach. And then, so we sign apprentices every year. We'll usually go at least 2. My cohort was a little larger. It was a 7. I think it's the second largest we've had. So that was nice kind of having people to kind of go up with you and kind of they understand where you're coming from, like what your day-to-day life is. And then during the apprenticeship, we also have our assigned mentors. So usually it lasts 6 months to a year for each mentor, just depending on what area you're in. And I absolutely love that because I got to work with so many different people. And I like my first mentor, Daisy, I would take like some of the best things I liked about her. Like she was very like attention to detail, like kept everything like really like in order. And then my next mentor, I really liked the way that he would always like double check everything. Like he always had a questioning attitude. So I could just kind of take the best things from each mentor and kind of implement that into my everyday life. And then after completing the apprenticeship, I was selected to a congressional program called the Congress over to Germany for a year and had the opportunity to work for Siemens. So I kind of got to see how their apprenticeship program over in Germany worked as well. And so that was really cool to see that. And then after returning to the States, I began working as a training specialist and kind of helping out with the apprenticeship program. So kind of went full circle. So I really enjoyed that. And yeah, so now I'm here today with you guys and very excited to kind of speak to you.
I think we may have lost Chad. We lost your last few sentences after you came back from Germany.
Oh no. Okay, that's pretty much it. I just said that after returning to the States, I began working as a training specialist. So I kind of worked with the apprenticeship program. And so it's really nice to kind of come full circle. So now I'm helping all the new ones coming in. And yeah, so now I'm here with you guys and I can't wait to kind of talk to you and hear about the other apprentices.
Great. Thank you, Chad. So each of the apprentices has a very different model. So I've asked them each to talk a little bit about that. So next we're going to go to Rhonda and ask Rhonda to tell us about her experience and how she got into her apprenticeship program. So Rhonda, please.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Williams. Thanks for having us here today. As Megan said, I work for Ford Motor Company, Ohio Assembly Plant. This is my 30th year there. My 25th year, I had the opportunity to join the UAW Ford Joint Apprenticeship Program. They recruit in-house, and once you take the 3 preparatory classes and successfully complete those, you're put on a apprenticeship list based off of seniority. And as need arises, they pull from the list to fill the positions. I'm an electrician. I came in the program, I started May of 2017, and there were 12 of us electrical apprentices. And we went through the program together, which was nice. We had to complete about 800 contact hours at our Lorraine Community College and 8,000 on the job training hours. You basically went from department to department, spent 3 months in each department, followed around a journeyman who showed you the ropes, the skills, what you needed to know to become an electrician. They were very patient. I couldn't have done this program without them. And everything I learned was because of them. So I thank them as well. So once I finished the apprenticeship program in October 2021, once we finished all the classes, did all the on-the-job training, we had to take a final test, which was done up in Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, at the Ford UAW Training Center up there. It's a hands-on test and a written test that must be completed as well in order to qualify for the journeyman certificate and certification. Now I am a electrician in the old department that I used to work in on the assembly line. So that's pretty interesting. And I love it.
Great. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
Yeah.
All right. So, Oak, we're going to jump over to you now. So if you want to tell us about your experience, how you got involved, and what did the apprenticeship look like?
Cool. Thank you, Megan. Thank you. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate y'all. But I wrote this out, so I'm sorry if it's not formal, but I had to get my thoughts in order. Well, hello, my name is Oak Aquino. I graduated from the Loop Lab Media Arts Apprenticeship Program in November 2021. Currently, my role is the lead instructor of our high school enrichment program. And to give some perspective of where I was before the Loop Lab, let's bring it back to the very beginning of the pandemic, where everyone had to stay home. Everyone was transitioning into this new world of masks and mandates, and everyone had a lot of time to think about where they wanted to be in their life and what they wanted to do with their time. I've always been an artistic and creative person, trying to find different ways to express myself and tell my story. And in this time period, I was very uncertain about a lot. The pandemic gave me clarity to invest in recording equipment. Every day till this day, I write raps about my life and my perception. It's therapeutic for me. And for years, I put my trust in engineers who had the knowledge and equipment, when in reality, I knew I could do it all myself. For a year, I was trying to use YouTube Academy to learn how to record, mix, master my own songs, because anything I really wanted to learn growing up, I knew I could find it on YouTube. All my talent skills literally came from being inspired, finding a tutorial video, doing it myself, trial error, and experimenting with what I could, and never stopping, just taking breaks and juggling depending on what moved me enough. But in general, I was just living off unemployment and not worrying about much. Just living day to day, trying to figure out my purpose in this world while not having a job, which was rare because ever since I was 14, I had a job, and at 18, I was becoming a father, and I never once took a vacation. So to live through 2019 and 2020 without a job, my perception really shifted and I started to ask, what really matters? Around this time last year, my dearest friend, Walla Hayek, sent me a message on Instagram with the Loop Lab apprenticeship application attached and told me she thinks it's a great opportunity and I would be a great fit. Not knowing what an apprenticeship program was, I quickly disregarded it and told her I wasn't interested. She got furious and told me I need to get my life together. I'm being lazy, I'm being unproductive. And she was right. I was comfortable and I didn't think I needed a challenge in my life, but I respect her a lot. She was the valedictorian in our high school and we graduated in 2014. And in 2021, she just got her master's in public health. And all throughout the years, she's just been someone I looked up to and respected a lot. So I took the leap of faith. In the application process, I became more invested because I saw that the Loop Lab was specifically invested in BIPOC communities in the greater Boston area who don't come from privileged backgrounds, and paying them to learn, giving them high-end equipment and industry standard software, and a very vast network that gave me the realization that I don't have to be a rapper. I can do a dozen other things behind the scenes and be respected and be a respected professional. This excited me. And my intuition told me, okay, if class starts at 11, I'm gonna be there at 10 because I don't want to waste their time or my time. I'm eager to learn and excited for the opportunity to be somebody my son could look up to one day. The application process was long. In a span of a month, everyone had to attend 2 interviews as well as a 2-hour workshop. Once selected, I couldn't wait to start the apprenticeship program. My cohort size started with 6 and 4 of us graduated. Training for 300 hours, 4 days a week for 4 hours a day. Working hands-on with equipment, learning why certain equipment is essential and how to properly make creative decisions with intent. Each individual had the opportunity to create a podcast for their midterm project and a video project where we teamed up with Amazon's Audible team. Not only did we focus on the technical aspects of being a media arts professional, but also the holistic aspects, such as mental health, showing up on time, respecting the people who you are working with, adapting to new environments, and overall, just an experience my spirit is extremely grateful for, because I didn't know people cared. I didn't know people cared about, just being a good person. But the Loop Lab team always showed tremendous understanding that the people they are serving aren't perfect. We're trying to be great, but we don't know what it takes. And being a part of the apprenticeship program, I was expecting nothing but technical skills finishing, but I ended up learning a lot more about myself than I planned to. After finishing the training portion lasting 6 months, we had a break from Thanksgiving to New Year. And in the midst of that, we met with our instructor, and he told us where we would be interning at and gaining 200 hours of on-the-field experience. I was proud to hear where my peers were going. My friend Ziggy went to go to Black Map Studio, where he was one of the few video editors at the company. My friend Delasia went to the Pentecostal Tabernacle Church in Cambridge, and she's a camera woman as well as a full-time student at Lesley College of Arts because of the Loop Lab. And my friend Patty, is now the Loop Lab Director of Social Media and is training to be a PA. I was placed at Castle of Our Skins, an all-Black orchestra nonprofit that needed a director of media production. And that was my role as an intern. I was overwhelmed with the pressure of being trusted with such a role while being told I needed to work from remotely. I sleep on my mom's couch and our house is small. I was struggling with the new opportunity and I had to quit because I felt like the time wasn't right and I didn't want to let them down. Shortly after I quit, I called Christopher Hope, the executive director of the Loop Lab, and I told him, I'm sorry for letting you down. And he said, it's okay. The journey isn't over yet. And he wants me to come intern at the Loop Lab. And to this day, I am extremely grateful because I was ready to get a minimum wage job and forget about my ambitions. But he told me he saw me as an instructor. He envisioned me as an instructor for our high school program. And I was shocked. I was like, I can't believe it. I expect people with college degrees to instruct. I expect people with experience to entrust. And I didn't feel like I had enough of that. But, but he trusted me and believed in me. And I'm grateful. But the past 2 months, the team has grown here at the Loop Lab. And people here believe in me and my skills. My trajectory in life has shifted from thinking I am one thing to knowing I am what I say I am. I am a father. I am an instructor. I am a creative director, stylist, everything I say I am. And I thank the Loop Lab Apprenticeship Program for having faith in me, because for a really long time, I didn't have faith in myself. Can we get a round of applause for all the apprenticeship programs that are helping young people be better and be great?
Thank you, Oak. That was great. So we're going to jump over to Travis at this point. And again, as you're listening to this, you're probably hearing there are very different types of apprenticeship programs. And so each of these individuals has gone through a different one. So Travis, if you tell us a little bit about your experience as well.
Hi, yeah, my name is Travis. I did the JPMorgan apprenticeship that was targeted for veterans. Did that, I started at JPMorgan at the beginning of 2020. Just in time to learn how to work from home with the rest of the world. Was very fortunate to have gotten a job where I could do that, and the pandemic largely unaffected our family, except for the ways that it touched everybody. But I had been working in a steel mill and was going to be, that's where I would have been the entire pandemic, just working in a steel mill, trying to figure out how not to, get COVID and stuff with everybody. So it really was a huge blessing. But yeah, I had been kind of a tech nerd in high school, real poor. I was building computers from parts from a recycling center, and trying to figure out any way I could get on the internet with the old AOL, 30-day trials and all the other companies that were attempting ad-based internet access marketing at the time, business plans. But then 9/11 happened. It was my senior year. I had been in the local community college taking classes, a lot of college classes, C++. And I always thought of my life scope as, is this going to make me a better dad whenever I have kids? And so I was always thinking of things that were going to shape my character or change me from experiences. So I didn't want to like just tell my kids like, yeah, I lived at a computer like my whole life, and you know, all this history was happening around me, and I kind of just like I worked. So, and I also didn't want to like be in a position where I felt like somebody had done something for me, like I owed somebody an obligation. So I enlisted and went to the Marines after I graduated. And that 4 years in the Marines, right at the beginning of, that was even before we invaded Iraq. There was the world changed a lot in that time frame. Like we started, everybody's got a cell phone while I was gone. I still had never even had a cell phone. And the nature of the internet changed, the nature of computing changed a lot. Like, I mean, I went to the Marines and was the one who could work a computer. So I sat on a computer most of the time anyway, like, here, you know, private, go type this up, you know? So once I got out and was a very different person, I didn't like wander aimlessly, but I didn't have any personal passions for anything. I kind of just reached a point where I was grateful to have survived. I was 25 years old and I didn't expect to be there. And it was like, what do I do with the rest of my life? Like, this was unexpected. I did odd jobs. I had my own company for a time. I got associates in photography. I was, you know, self-employed doing that, mostly creative. I was hardly supporting anything. And then I started a family and was, you know, I always wanted to be a dad, and I'm a good dad, but now I have to support them. It's like, I didn't think about any of this part, you know. But I saw a Facebook ad. I was living in New Jersey at the time, and a Facebook ad came across for Apprentice, and they were targeting minorities for tech apprenticeships to do like software engineering. It's like, oh, this would be great. Like, I'm never gonna put my family in debt to go to college. I do love this stuff. It would really work out. So I'm either just gonna keep working these jobs that pay enough for us to survive and be happy, or I can really kind of shoot for the moon and apply for this apprenticeship. So I ended up having, the barrier to entry was a couple interviews that were all soft skills. First, Apprentice had to decide they wanted to present me to JPMorgan as a candidate. So I took their 2-hour math test in about 6.5 hours. And then I had the soft skills interview, and then I had the soft skills interview at JPMorgan. And it was really interesting because like, they can't ask you any technical questions because you don't know anything. So it was just a lot of getting to know you. Do you think it's going to be a good fit? Are you, a decent person? Can we work together? And mostly they're just curious, like, are you hungry to learn? Like, do you want to try to figure things out? And that's really honestly like all the apprenticeship model is, right? Like, is this person going to be somebody who listens to what I have to tell them, and can I teach them how to do the job? You know, and can I train my replacement, as it were? And so it was, I had good luck. I got some good mentors. I ended up working a lot more with like a mentor of my own choosing from my team. I just kind of picked somebody who could explain things in a way that I understood and glommed on. And I finished, it was, I had a 14-week coding boot camp. And as long as I graduated the 14-week boot camp, then I had a guaranteed year-long position at JPMorgan to do all the on-the-job training part. And that's, for me, I was able to float that period because I could use the GI Bill to take in some income for that. And Apprentice paid for the program, which normally costs about $15,000. And it's a great program. Like, I put my wife through it. We refinanced our home. And it was a fantastic opportunity to me, but it's like really a unicorn position to be in, to be able to float 3.5 to 4 months of income to put yourself through it, or, you know, to come up with the money to do the boot camp route of entry into the tech industry. So it was really, really a blessing for us. And some of the people in my cohort struggled. One girl like just lived in her car. She's like, I'll just sleep in the car in the parking lot and do whatever I got to do to get this opportunity. When it got cold, she ended up accepting help and stayed with a couple of different people from the cohort. But it's a good program, and it really changed like the legacy of my family. I grew up so poor, and call it like, I got to high school and people were like, oh, you're going to college, right? It's before 9/11. Well, yeah, I'm going to college. But I wasn't going to college because it was already like halfway through my senior year. Nobody told me how to go to college. Nobody in the family knew how to go to college. So I was at least taking a gap year at that point. And now like my kids have no want for anything. It's just like a remarkable difference, just the way I grew up. Like my kids don't beg for stuff, and I give them all kinds of stuff that I can and as I want. But just like I was just noticing the other day, like just the mindset of security. Like my kids don't question who they are or their purpose in life. Like there, no sense of their identity is wrapped up in economics at all. Versus like how I grew up, and everything was what can we afford, what do we have opportunity for, and you just kind of make things work. So I'm grateful for that, to give my kids that comfort, and I'm really grateful to Apprentice for taking a chance on me, and JPMorgan. They kept me on. I'm still on the same team that I started on about 2.5, 3 years ago now. I can't math. 2022 is not 3 years ago, but
Great.
that's my experience.
Thank you, Travis. So that gives you just a little bit of a taste of the 4 different types of apprenticeships. I mean, 2 of them are industry-based or company. Well, I shouldn't say that. 2 of them are company-based with the Ford and the JPMorgan example. And then you see from Oak's experience, a nonprofit, and Chad went through a much more traditional state-based program. So through the sessions this morning, we've been hearing a lot about the value of apprenticeship from the people who create and run them, and also from the community colleges, and from why is it valuable to industry. But I wanted to kind of flip that and ask our apprentices today to tell us about why has it been valuable for them. And they've already alluded to some of those pieces, but also why did they get that? Why did they participate? Because I know that was a question in the previous session about recruitment. And I think there were some little ties here of some of the things some of you folks said. So as you think about the value of apprenticeships to you, can you talk a little bit about it? And so I'll go ahead and start with Rhonda on this one, and we'll just kind of go around the circle.
Yeah, the value I would say would be, for me, it boosts self-esteem. I mean, I had worked in a factory assembly line, to help raise my family. And I always wanted to go to school, continue my education. But it's kind of hard to do that, raising family, working full time. I did do some part-time classes at LCC, like I said, even before the apprenticeship. And once this opportunity came up and I was able to complete it, it boosted my esteem, because I had fulfilled, one of the goals that I had always set out to do, and that was further my education, get a skill, get a degree. So that would be one thing. Another thing, of course, economically, boosted my income. That always helps. And it also just gave me a sense of pride, that I can give back to what was given to me, and that's what I would say would be the value.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chad, how about you? What would you say from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I also agree with Rhonda a lot too on the financial freedom. I mean, we just had one of our 4th-year apprentices this year. She's 22 years old and she just bought a house. And so it's just kind of crazy to think about, like at that age, like you're able to make that larger investment. But also from my perspective, I think the networking aspect of it is a really good portion. Like you're able to get your foot in the door at a great company like the ones that we have here today. And then you're able to really just meet so many different people. Like you have the mentors you work with, you have different people that you meet throughout when you're working on the job. And it's just such a great networking opportunity because you're able to learn a lot from those people. And I think that was my biggest thing that I really enjoyed, which is the networking opportunity.
Great. And Oak, how about your experience?
I'm going to piggyback off what Rhonda and Chad said. It's like, again, like the community and the resources that, you don't expect, you just expect a job or career or something, but it feels good to have people around, training you and teaching you, who care, who want to see you succeed, who want to see you strive and, change your life for the better.
Great. And Travis?
Honestly, for me, I don't know that it would have been the same answer if we hadn't had the pandemic, but like I worked from home a lot, like obviously the whole pandemic, and then recently a lot. And with the financial changes and the work-life flexibility, I've spent so much time with my kids. or my wife. And it just the sheer volume of togetherness has made everything just like better. Like we just gotten to know each other better. And we're able to, with the financial freedom, even like slow down on all the things that we have to do. We don't always have to be somewhere. We can just like, I can really just like sit and play, like the work is, there's always more work to be done. And the culture of this industry is very much just like, the day's over, there's gonna be more work tomorrow, like turn it off and be with your family. And it's like so freeing, versus working at a lot of like the lower wage places and for lower skilled workers and stuff. It was always just needs of the business. Like, why don't you want to be successful? Why don't you want to get ahead? And it feels like I've gotten access to the America everybody talked about, like, and like that's what it's been for me. Like I finally feel like, I don't know, I haven't retired, but it is relaxing, like, don't tell my boss though.
I was gonna say, somebody in the IT world is saying their job is relaxing. That's amazing. So
I mean, when you look at like the history of like the stuff I've like, 3 months before working in an office at JPMorgan, I was trying not to get crushed by giant coils of steel that were like 400 degrees. So, coding is pretty chill.
And so something, a comment that came up when we were meeting before, preparing for this session, you all talked about the apprenticeship gave you access potentially to careers that you may not have been able to get into. Do any of you want to speak a little bit about that it was that opportunity that allowed you in, that maybe had it not been there, again, you may not have ever walked through that door? And I don't know if anybody feels incredibly strongly about that.
I do. I can speak to that.
Please do, Rhonda.
Yeah, this never would have happened for me had it not, been for the apprenticeship. I would have just went on the assembly line and, took classes here and there and, got, some education where I could, but I never would have been able to structure my life, in a way that I could have accomplished this, that the, apprenticeship provided. So I'm just grateful. I can't stress it enough. Yeah.
Great. Chad, do you want to say something? Because I know for you, that was a big piece of one, the not having to pay for it, but was there something else? Did you feel like you had access to something that maybe, or opportunities opening up?
Yeah, so many opportunities opened up that I just never thought were possible. I mean, I talked about earlier how I was able to go to Germany. That was my first time ever being outside the US. That's something never thought was me possible. Not only did I get to do it, but also like Siemens and the US government like covered the bill for it too. So I was able to go out there, and it was just such an enriching experience to be fully immersed into a culture like that. I got to live with a host family there, so I got to learn a little bit of German. So jetzt spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, now I can speak a little German. And yeah, it's just crazy opportunities like that. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the White House just off of honestly pure luck almost. I just happened to meet the US CEO while she was doing a tour through just the different plants in the US. And I got to meet her. Just apparently I stuck in her mind. And then when the Chancellor of Germany was invited to the White House by the president, she was asked to bring 3 different companies. She chose Siemens to be one, and they told him like, hey, make sure you bring an apprentice with you. And then just happened, like that was probably a month after I met the US CEO, and she's like, oh, I remember Chad. Yeah, we'll invite Chad to come. And so I got to go there. I got to speak in front of some of the most powerful people in the world, albeit for like 60 seconds, but still it was a surreal experience.
Great. And Travis and Oak, both of you actually entered into programs that very much were targeting specific populations. Do you want to just kind of say a couple of words about that? If Oak, you want to go first?
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, the Loop Lab is geared toward the BIPOC community. And yeah, like, growing up in Boston, you would think there's opportunity for minority. You would think, just there's a lot of tech, there's a lot of health, a lot of big companies, a lot of huge colleges. But growing up, I didn't ever feel like there were resources geared for me. And, I just had to go out and find them. But, sorry, my thoughts escaping me.
No, that's okay. I think that's helpful. And we'll come back to that. So Travis, for you, I know it was a veterans program.
Yeah, it kind of matched up. So Apprentice mission was like the underrepresented demographics in the tech industry. And JPMorgan has a big initiative for veterans. And so that's the only underrepresentation I can get is being a veteran. So grateful for the opportunity. I know now they started the program just before the pandemic. I was only the second group, and when there was only 6 of us and 5 in the previous, but they've started doing it now, and now it's not just veterans. It is still minority focused. And I know Apprentice, I've heard them kind of struggle, like they're struggling to find companies, like smaller companies. They're a lot harder to support and to place people at. And so they've kind of are stuck pushing only what the big companies are saying they want to work with. So I know that's a barrier, but it's worked out really great for us in our team. Like I'm the token white guy. We're sitting here in Columbus. I'm the only white guy on the team. No a white person at all. And so it is interesting. The needs of the demographics. They always talk about like, oh, we just need more creative thinking and we need to inject like some diversity into the thing. And it's not, it doesn't play out as in like what you look like it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, brown or not when you're just writing code. But what does matter is like you learn differently and you think differently. Like I'm not a creative thinker. I think differently than all the people that have traditionally been attracted to this role. And so to get those kinds of people that can do that job differently that you want, like it's very important to target the underrepresentations, you know. I mean, obviously that's why you're looking as a company, right? Like something's not working and you need to change. So apprenticeships are the only way to really do that, honestly.
Great. So I'm going to ask one more question and then certainly open it up for any questions from the folks in the audience as well. But one of the other things we talked about during our meeting was the importance of a mentor or the person that works with you as an apprentice. Do each of you want to just say a few words about that relationship and how it creates a successful environment? And this time I'll go ahead and start with you, Oak.
Thank you. I think, for a successful, apprenticeship program, there needs to be strong leadership. And everyone needs to buy into the mission of what it is exactly that we're trying to accomplish with, as an apprentice and as the organization. And as long as that's established early and everyone knows that we're here for a purpose, I think that's one of the strongest factors, because it took me a while to buy into it. Like I was in it, but it took me a while to realize like, oh, this is actually like really special and really, a really dope opportunity for myself and my peers and my family. And just to answer your question, like the mentorship and leadership is vital. Without a strong foundation, then people are going to be lost and confused and upset, and no one's really ever going to feel like secure that what they're working towards is going to be, something that is going to change their life.
Great. Thank you. Chad, do you want to give a little bit of an example?
Yeah, I think just the mentorship program is just such an important aspect of the apprenticeship program as a whole. So a lot of the mentors that I had, they kind of saw me as their son or as their grandson, just somebody that they can really take under their wing, kind of build up. And I enjoyed that a lot. I mean, we would talk about obviously things about work, but then they would also teach me life skills as well. And I thought that was really important because, I mean, these people, like just with work, they have 10, 20, 30 years of experience that they kind of instill in me. And it was just such a enriching program to see that happen. But also you have to be aware that we have some people that are just absolutely brilliant at Siemens, but they're not the best teachers. So they're not quite suited to be a mentor. So not everyone is also suited to be a mentor. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. And also one of my favorite mentors, like we got along so well, he taught me so much, but then another guy in my cohort had him later on, and they're just, I guess, I don't know, just their ways of learning and teaching and ideologies kind of bumped heads a lot, and they just didn't work as well. So it also kind of depends on who matches up with who. I think is important as well.
Thank you. Travis, I know you mentioned a little bit too about the value for the mentor, being the mentor. as well as the experience for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So like I was designated a mentor, but then kind of as you work with the team, you kind of pick the people that really are a better fit for you and which can teach the way that you want. And so I have a friend from my team who's been in the industry for 16 years. He's not really suited to be a traditional mentor. Just from the way that he communicates is challenging. He had a motorcycle accident a few years ago, but he's brilliant. And as long as I was patient enough to like listen and let him explain to me a lot of the whys, like everybody that you come into contact with, everybody's going to be willing to help you with whatever you're stuck on. Like everybody's always willing to help, but able to explain like this is why you would do that, like and turn it into something that's a teachable moment so that it's not something you have to be taught again in the future. It was really a linchpin for me. He was able to explain so much. And one of the things he ended up telling our manager was like, he really appreciated working with me too, because I asked him a lot of why questions and things that he was doing on autopilot for years. He was able to reevaluate and decide like, is this still the right answer? Even though I learned it 10 years ago. And he's like, he changed some of his habits, you know? So I think it's important for a lot of companies to realize that an apprenticeship program is not just bringing in new talent, but you're taking a lot of people who have been in your company for so long, they're kind of stagnating. I mean, you don't really have any advanced programs for the experts in your team, in your company. Like the only way you can make them better is to have them teach what they know to somebody else. And that teaching process refines them because they have to think, okay, I think the answer is this, but you know, how does that work in today's new world? So that's how it's worked for me.
Great. So Rhonda, we'll ask you about that. And then I do have some questions coming in on the chat that I will also pose to you. But Rhonda, about mentors, kind of the value of that.
Oh, well, I would say I had probably about 20 journeymen that I shadowed. And as I said earlier, I never could have gained the knowledge on the job that I did without their help. You know, each one of them had, you know, something to offer, you know, some more than others. And as one of the other people said that, you know, some are better teaching than others are, but I honestly gained something from every one of them. And I was really nervous when I first came in because we have about 100 electricians there and it's only 3 women. So I wasn't sure how, you know, they'd accept me, you know, and the other 2 women had been there for quite some time. And I was just really, you know, wondering, you know, how are they going to accept me? Am I going to gain everything I need to know? Are they going to teach me, willingly teach me everything I need to know? And they did, you know, I just can't say it enough. They really did.
Great. Thank you. All right. So we do have a question. So the question was, what one key thing have you learned throughout your journey so far that you wish to share with your future kids, students, or families? And anybody want to take a first stab at that?
I don't know that it would be related to work, honestly. You know, I try to tell my kids like school is a very early part of your life. You like everybody's got to do it. Yes, you have to wake up and go to school today. So most of my advice is about just seizing the opportunities when they come to you, making the most of them when you get them, and just relax a little bit.
Let me pose that a little bit differently. Think about it. I'm thinking about it also, and maybe Chad, I'm thinking of it you because you were kind of came in a more traditional way. But what would you want to share with future students or families, people who are making a decision and may not even know apprenticeships exist?
I would say just to be open to the idea of other pathways. I mean, like I said earlier, there's just kind of this stigma that you have to go this one route to be successful. But I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do it. And also to the question, like, what's one key thing I learned? I would say that it's just as important to figure out what you don't want to do as what you do want to do. And so that's one thing I'd get kind of upset. And just I went through an internship, like, oh, I don't like this. I thought this was the route I wanted to take, but I didn't really like this. But someone sat me down before and was like, well, that's great. Now you know that you don't want to do this. That's one thing you kind of check off the list and kind of go on to the next one. So originally I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Then after working with Siemens, I decided I kind of want to go more this training route. And I think this is a really cool opportunity for me. So I think it's just as important to figure out what you don't want to do versus what you do want to do as well.
Great. Oak, what are your thoughts?
I would say definitely that like imposter syndrome is a real thing. Like we don't know what we're capable of, but the people around us do. The people around us see what our potential is. And you know, that's how I got in the program. I was like, I don't think this is me. But my friend said, no, this is absolutely you. Stop being so blind. Stop blinding yourself. And I would just say, you know, sometimes you just need a push from someone you trust. Sometimes you need a push from someone you trust, and then you have to give yourself that same amount of trust and more. And that's what I would share with, you know, my child or students, families, that, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. Just don't be so blind and so hard on yourself.
Great. And Rhonda, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to go off of, is that, you know, I would tell my kids, and I do tell my kids, you can do anything you want to do. You know, your willingness will get you where you need to go. You know, your determination will get you there. Stick with it. Don't be afraid. Set your fears aside, push on. You know, you may hear you can't do it. You may tell yourself you can't do it, but if you want to do it, you can do it. Yeah.
Great. So let me see if there's one last question. And then the last thing I'll actually ask the team, just before us was the community college group, and they were talking about recruitment. If there were one sentence or something you might recommend, how should they be thinking about recruiting and reaching out to future apprentice? Obviously that's not as easy as it may have used to. Well, I don't know that it's ever been easy. So if we want to go around the horn one time and just kind of ask anybody, what would be a couple of quick ideas you would have about how to reach out and focus on apprentice? Rhonda, I know you come from a very specific program because it's internal to your company, but any thoughts?
I would just say, look for people who, you know, are willing to learn and are determined, really want to, you know, get the job done. Yeah.
Okay. Travis, recruitment strategies?
Yeah, I would like look at the kids who are comfortable. You know, they probably have a lot going on inside their heads, but they're afraid to branch out. You know, target clubs where kids are already doing something that they're interested in with people that are interested in it. That club you might not get the whole club, but there's a kid there who is wondering what is next and what the opportunities are. And they're going to understand the imposter syndrome and keeping a teachable heart. Those are huge things. Like, I finished my apprenticeship, but even yesterday, somebody took me aside and was like, hey, like, you had an opportunity to talk on a meeting with like people who can change your career, and you didn't really do a very good job. Like, try these things next time. And instead of getting all upset, be like, oh, you don't like me, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, those are great points, thank you. Like, I can be honest with myself about these things that I have to change. And so look at people like that. Like, I'm not sure how to market to them to convince them to try it, but those are the people that are going to be successful, the people who can learn and can change.
Great. I know we're up at the 2:20, but I do want to give Chad and Oak just like 2 or 3 words that you might say about recruitment, and then we will close it off for this session. So Oak, 2 or 3 words about recruitment?
One word: magic.
I like
No,
that.
seriously. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you have a way to draw them in, then you can start the conversation and let them know that their life has an opportunity to change.
Thank you. And Chad, 1 or 2 words quickly.
I would say just debt free. Like, you're able to graduate the degree completely debt free. I think that's a big seller, because I mean, credit card debt or student debt has surpassed credit card debt, which is insane to think about. And then also everything that you're learning in class is directly applicable to what you're doing on the job. And I think that's great for me, because in high school I was always like, when am I ever going to use this? This makes no sense. But with the apprenticeship program, everything you use, you're like, oh, I used this at work yesterday, or I learned this at school yesterday. And I think that's a really cool opportunity.
Great. Thank you, everybody. I know I kind of pushed you at the last minute, but thank you. It's always great to hear from the folks who are right in the middle of it. So I appreciate everybody's time. A round of applause for our wonderful panels today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, panel. That was wonderful. Appreciate it.